You may be going through anxiety for a long time up to this point and have never heard this term. The term is hyperstimulation, my friends. Today we're diving deep into hyperstimulation, something that I experienced for many years without even knowing it. I was going, I'm not even consciously anxious about anything. Why do I continue to experience these anxiety symptoms in my body and in my mind without really being afraid of anything in the external world? It was a really strange thing. And today we're going to dive deep into hyperstimulation, what it is, some of the signs to look for, and in the end of this video, towards the end, I'm going to give you 6 very powerful things that you can work on starting today that will reverse the hyperstimulation. So I'm super excited. Chronic stimulation is what hyperstimulation is. Chronic stimulation due to your stress response being kicked into high gear for an extended period of time. Okay, so I want you to kind of look at your life right now, because a lot of anxiety sufferers think that they're thinking when in fact they're going through all these negative and catastrophic ideas coming from the ego mind in relation to protection. They think that they're thinking. They're not thinking. You're not thinking. Those are ideas. Those are not conscious thoughts. Okay, now I want you to think right now about your life up to this point. When we talk about inner peace, when we talk about happiness, when we talk about joy, when we talk about positivity, has there ever been times in your life where you really had these things for an extended period of time? So if you don't know what inner peace really feels like in mind, body, and spirit for an extended period of time, then your nervous system will have a very difficult time getting back to that state. So reflect on your life and how stressful your life has been for quite some time, in mind, in body, in spirit, in imagination. Because anxiety sufferers get to a point where they start to go, hey, this is just the way I'm going to live my life. And a lot of people that live a chronically stressful life think that it's normal. It's just living in the city, or it's just my workplace, or it's just in my relationships, or it's just the way life is. No, chronic stress is not something external. Chronic stress is something that happens on the inside. I know people that can be in a very chaotic environment, such as, sitting on the side of traffic and have all these these horns go off from the car and stuff, and still be in a meditative parasympathetic state. So there's nothing on the outside. It's all on the inside that's causing the chronic stress that's leading to hyperstimulation, all right? Some of the causes. Let's get into these. And the causes are related to my own anxiety disorder that I went through for years. Some of the causes are repetitive anxious behaviors, okay? Like I mentioned, some of us don't even realize we're doing them because we live such an unconscious life from one moment to the next. However, once you start to become more mindful about these repetitive anxious behaviors that you go through throughout the day, then what's going to happen is you're going to start going, hey, that's not connected to the direction I want to go in my life. That's coming from the ego mind, trying to keep me in a protective state. So I'm going to start distancing myself and replacing those anxious behaviors, which will go a long way towards healing hyperstimulation. Past trauma. So not so much the past trauma, but the way you've encoded what happened to you, right? You could take 2 people that experience the same past trauma and have 2 completely different outcomes later on in life. One person's living by the repressed negative fears and angers and guilts and blames and all that sort of stuff in the future, and another person has the ability to see it as an experience that happened in their past, but now it's kind of gone, right? So past traumas and carrying around the same repressed and suppressed feelings and emotions based on what took place in your childhood has a lot to do with hyperstimulation today, and also a doership mindset. When I talk about doership, A part of doership is feeling like you have to suffer to get some kind of a reward, right? It's almost like you're not deserving of it unless there's some kind of suffering going on. And what happens is we tend to move towards this worryful intellectualism kind of state where we overthink and overanalyze everything because we feel like that's a form of suffering that will get us some kind of answer in the future. This is a delusion from the ego mind, if nothing else, right? But I've been in this place for a long time, and these are some of the causes to hyperstimulation. Up to this point in the video, what's the biggest epiphany that you just gathered? I want you to comment below, because this isn't about me just, feeding you wisdom and knowledge here. It's about the back and forth interaction. Now, tap into some of the signs. What are some of the common signs that may be very, very present in your life right now? Some of the signs are sleep disturbances. So you wake up multiple times at nighttime and you're not even sure why. That could have something to do with hyperstimulation. Impaired cognitive functions. So short-term memory lapses, concentration issues. It feels like you can't really focus on one thing. Could have something to do with hyperstimulation and the connection to anxiety. Physiological restlessness, like for example, you're sitting there and you're kind of listening to something, or you're trying to meditate and you just can't seem to focus and you feel tremendously restless in that very moment. That could have something to do with the hyperstimulation. Immediate anger or fear over little things. So every little thing seems to set you off, even though it's not even a big thing. It's just a tiny little thing, like a little email or some criticism over here, or someone said something, or even that you remembered something from the past. Any little thing could really set off a lot of fear or a lot of anger. And next thing you know, the physical symptoms that used to be in place as a chronic situation starts to become heightened. So yes, you already had the heart palpitations before, but now it's really getting to your conscious attention. This is hyperstimulation. Sensitivity to loud noises, so like cars or scooters, beep 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 going off, and you're like, oh my god, what is going on? I can't take it anymore. Or even when you're in a conversation with someone and you're talking to that person and they have good intentions and they want to, be a part of this conversation, but they're talking loud, even though they're not really talking loud. It's just that you're really hyperstimulated. And you're like, oh man, you start to go back a bit. You're like, oh man, why is he speaking so loud? I want to be kind and nice. I don't want to say anything, but this is really setting me off, right? So that could have something to do with it. Muscle tension leading to possible muscle twitching. Lately, people going through my programs, they've been emailing me and saying, Dennis, the muscle twitching is still there. Well, I'm about to get to some of the things that we're going to be able to do to eliminate those symptoms, and especially muscle twitching. And finally, feeling like your body is always stuck in an electrical socket, right? If you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's like you ask somebody, hey, have you ever felt like you're just like, you're like buzzing all the time, and the person you just talked to is going, no, not really, right? And you're just going, oh man, that's, I just can't take it. And that sort of feeling, your body being stuck in an electrical socket type of feeling can really, do a number on all aspects of life. Like and it's very hard not to think that something's physically wrong with you. But, however, I'm here to remind you that anxiety and hyperstimulation and these common signs usually go hand in hand. Okay, so you can stop catastrophizing and we can get to what we need to do to start eliminating the hyperstimulation and, of course, the anxiety to start living a peaceful life. What do? Well, the first thing is we have to rest. R-E-S-T, rest. We have to rest. Rest has to be a priority, okay? For a lot of people, rest is not a priority with hyperstimulation, especially when they start to feel better, right? You start to feel better from the anxiety disorder, hyperstimulation, and you're going, oh, I feel better. Now I can go back and do those things that got me here in the first place, right? I play a number on my body. No, guys, this is a lifestyle. Everything that I talk about on this channel has a lot to do with anxiety, yes, but this is a lifestyle we're talking about here. It's not just something you're doing to get rid of something else. And many times, if we don't have this mindset, it can really backfire. So rest. And when I mean rest, I'm not talking about just resting your physical body. I'm talking about resting your mental body as well. So as you're resting your physical body, you also want to make sure that you see your ideas, the ideas floating in your head, as being just sort of warning signs from the ego mind that you no longer pay attention to, because the only thing that keeps those negative thoughts alive is you. The only thing that gives them energy is you. The only thing that provokes those negative thoughts is you. The only person that allows those negative and catastrophic thoughts to branch from one thing to the next is you. There's nothing on the outside. It's all you. And when we actually start pointing the finger inwards, that's really when change starts to arise in a person's life. So rest is so important for hyperstimulation, all right? Mild exercise, because there's a lot of people out there that just get so addicted to those the endorphins and that rush that they feel after a workout. But what you're doing is really aggravating the symptoms, right? And this is from my own experience. You're aggravating the hyperstimulation. And so you want to embark on mild exercise, at least for the time being, okay? And walking is absolutely fantastic when you're under hyperstimulation. Walking is fantastic. Light bike riding is fantastic. But going any further than that, where you actually feel like your system is working overtime and is working hard just to be able to get through the exercise, that's no good. And it's a windy day today, yes. So make sure that your exercise routines are mild, like stretching. Any kind of movement exercises are great. Any kind of animal flow that you can find on YouTube, yoga. These are great. These are fantastic during the healing process over hyperstimulation. Then, and this is an interesting one that nobody really talks about, but I will talk about, based on my own experiences and working with so many people worldwide. Lower your exposure to EMFs, okay? And when I'm talking about EMFs, I'm talking about the frequencies that you don't recognize that are surrounding you pretty much all the time. And I'm talking about things like exposure to your Wi-Fi modem. Okay, I'm talking about having your smartphone in your pocket pretty much all day. Okay, I'm talking about all sorts of other things like, I'm not going to go into detail about this, but it's very important that, because people that are hyperstimulated are very hypersensitive. Okay, and if you're hypersensitive, there's a good chance that without your knowing about it, you are also hypersensitive to these frequencies that are playing a role, a leading role in the perpetuation of your anxiety. So what can we do about it? Distance and time spent. Okay, distancing yourself from your modem, distancing yourself from your phone, distancing yourself from the laptop, distancing yourself from your favorite cafe that's got Wi-Fi signals going here, there, and everywhere. You have the ability to do better with this. You really, really do. But it's not this obsessiveness like, oh my God, he's using his phone and he's got to stay away from me. Dennis said I got to distance myself. Oh my God. No, it's not like that. It's basically being mindful about your environment and doing the best you can to protect yourself from this, okay? So distance from that kind of energy and frequency, and time spent on your devices and your laptops and this sort of thing is very, very important. Number 4, what else can we do for hyperstimulation? We can reconnect with nature daily. And what I mean by that is take your shoes off, take your socks off, go walk in the grass. And as you walk in the grass, show appreciation for nature. Walk in a forest. Go hug a tree, for goodness sake. Even if someone's walking by going, tree hugger, you're going, I'm in the healing process, buddy. Okay, so stuff like that, right? Oh, that's my dog. Hello. Okay. So reconnect with nature daily. And this is something I mentioned, number 5, earlier in this video, is about reflecting. Reflect on habits that perpetuate the hyperstimulation. So I just want you to kind of get a notepad and start writing down some of the habits that keep this stuff alive, the hyperstimulation, the hypersensitivity, because there's so much that we do that we don't realize we do that feeds into this and the anxiety disorder. So reflecting is very, very important. And finally, most importantly, as you do these things and get on the healing path around anxiety disorders and hyperstimulation, you have to give it time. This is something that is fueled by the ego mind. The ego mind loves impatience. It wants you to be impatient to keep you in an anxious and familiar state. However, patience, giving it time in a very gentle and self-loving way, will say, you know what, I realize this is a journey. And you have to respect the journey to heal from this journey. If you don't respect the healing process, then all you're doing is falling for the interpretations of the ego mind. And you're living by the rules that were set by your past traumas and your core beliefs, along with negativity and such. So you gotta give it time, my friends, okay? This is a lifestyle. And please stay on the path, okay? This is something that's key. It's like when you start to do these things and you feel a shift going on, that scares a lot of people. You know, what direction am I going? What is this change work? Who am I becoming? I don't even know who I am. People are leaving me. I'm losing friends. The truth is, when everything feels like it's falling apart to you, it's really coming together because you're starting to go beyond the old programming and start to really create your own life and your own perceptions and perspectives. So this is all very, very key, all right? I love you all from the bottom of my heart. Remember that you are more than anxiety, my friends. If this video spoke to you, give it a like, comment below, and have a progress-filled day. I'll see you soon.